Right, guys, welcome back to the studio. Here we go. This is a super exciting one. I have recently got back from an unbelievable, a once in a lifetime experience with Panerai and the Italian Navy, Air Force, and I'm going to share all of it with you now. So buckle up. Let's get into it. Right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you very much, as always, for joining. I think it's probably right to start with a little wrist check. I have talked about this bad boy before, but it's an absolute oddball. It's a 42mm rose gold Radomir with this incredible Piaget caliber in the case back. Which, I mean, for me, I was about to say ultra thin because I'm so used to saying ultra thin calibers with Piaget, but I'm enjoying this watch at the moment. It's kind of not the first thing you think about when we think about Panerai, but there we go. Chocolate brown, matte chocolate brown dial, sandwich dial, great loom. And for me, the 1236 combination with the sub-seconds at 9, such a big difference in the visual. But there we go. Loving that. Absolutely loving that. Hand-wound caliber, by the way, with a screw down crowd. Again, incredible. Doesn't make sense. I love it. So the experience, guys. I bought some merch along because I felt like these two caps in some ways will sum up what I've just been on. You will know that Panerai has, in so many ways, been pioneering this idea of buying a watch and having an experience as a result of buying the watch. Now, we all know that it's harder and harder for brands these days to validate price increases and to validate the reason to buy new. And I think Panerai is onto something because in many ways, it's the definition of luxury, is having access to something that others don't, access to the inaccessible, doing something as an experience, not just owning a product. Now, of course, it's been done in other segments, other categories, other industries, but as far as I can see, it's not something that's been done in the watch world, at least not very well. Of course, if you own a watch from MB&F, you might get the chance to go on a trip with some other collectors, but nothing quite like this. And so this was the 2025 experience that came with, what was the watch? The watch, I just don't want to mess up the full title. It was a submersible chronograph, Marina Militari edition, 47mm, and roughly 55,000 pounds. It's a big chronograph. It's a big luminor with a grain dial, sort of green dial, very military inspired. And the brand has been doing this type of thing since 2019. They've run a number of events with the Navy SEALs, down with Mike Horn to Spellbard. It's an insane thing. And it's not often discussed. At least it's not often discussed, as far as I can see, on YouTube from anyone that's experienced it. And the reason for that is that not many media journalists, those that are not owners, get to experience it. And so I went, literally 2-3 weeks ago, I went to Puglia in southern Italy as one of 3 or 4 journalists that joined a group of collectors, of which there were probably 30 collectors plus partners and friends. You could invite someone else with you on the experience. So it wasn't just a one-way, a single ticket thing. And it was just the most incredible experience. Before we went on the trip, I had some physical assessments that needed to be completed. I need to get sign off from the GP, which was getting me excited, wetting the whistle for what was to come, because really it was all kept quite sort of under the radar as to what the detail of this trip was. I needed to do some physical. There was some training protocols that they sent us to be physically ready for the trip. And it was just remarkable because the excitement, there are so few things in life now that make you really, really excited. But the unknown of it was what got me excited. And so, yeah, boarded the flight. I knew we were on the right flight because from London to Italy, to Puglia, there were a number of others around me just pulling out Panerai couples like that come in from all around the world. People were coming in from everywhere, from Australia, from Singapore, from Hong Kong, from South Africa, from the US. And I just remember looking around and there was this couple next to me, and there must have been 12 or 15 Panerai coming out of the suitcases and being wound, like crowns out, popping the crown out, boom, all ready to go on local time. And so we arrived, went to the hotel, and very quickly pushed into the briefings that evening from the Air Force, the Naval Air Force. So uh, these guys came to our hotel to give us a brief on the safety aspects of the water, the sea retrieval rescue mission, which we would be taking part in, not on the first day but the second day. And they had with them the small metal frame that would be dropped into the ocean for you to get into, for us to get into, to be retrieved. Not just one of us, but two of us. Now I weigh 100 and something kgs. I'm not quite 6 foot, although I'll say I'm 6 foot. My wife will totally pull me up on that. But the idea of two of us getting in this thing was crazy because I could barely fit in. Plus, to get in, you had to go underwater a little bit just to get yourself in. So look, all of it was there. It was, the excitement was frothing. The gills were I was frothing at the gills with excitement. And we arrived in our hotel room and we had our naval uniform, which was literally the same naval uniform that all of the officers and deckhands and cleaners and staff and on board this vessel that we'd be on would be wearing. Of course, they all had different ranks, but primarily we were wearing the same thing, and that was on this boat, the Naval Panerai, which is one of the one of probably 6 different Italian vessels that we saw from where we were staying. We got a bus, a military bus, which reminded me just of the sort of buses that we had, that you will remember from We Were Soldiers. Picked us all up at like 5 a.m. And we drove for an hour to the coast where there were these vessels. A lot of them were international vessels, but also they were the Italian military vessels. And so we arrived on deck. We were then there for the flag raising, and we were literally in rank, split up into different groups. So within our group, we had like 5 different miniature groups, and I was in the media group. And then, of course, we had different groups from different. I don't actually know how they split the groups, but we would then be sequenced in rotation around the vessel throughout the whole day, doing different things. So the first thing that we did in our group was we did the flag raising, we did our salutes. We had, there's no preparation for this, and no one really outlined exactly what would be going on, which was great because the excitement of the surprise was there. But let me tell you this, that no one had ever done this. So speaking to some of the men and women on board, this was just not something that had ever been done before. So there was no precedent for how this would unfold. First thing we did was we were taught how to use the hose pipes on board. And honest to God, I almost was thrown overboard because this damn thing had so much power to it. You throw the sort of the gauge throttle up, and next minute it just takes off. The power behind it was insane. So we went through the protocol on how to use that. We then went inside and to run drills on the fire safety. So we literally were in our full firefighting garb, helmets on, oxygen rebreathers on, putting out a live fire drill basically within the vessel. Of course, a fire at sea is as bad as it gets. So we were in units. We went through a drill with the team first, and then we did it where the smoke was there. The smoke was generated to create confusion and visibility issues. I had a night vision goggles going through, so I could see the heat, because the vision was so bad. You needed the goggles to be able to see. So we went through that. We then went through some drills where we went up to the and by the way, I wanted to film this live. Like I wanted to do a documentary style film, but the bottom line is that a lot of it we couldn't film in because, of course, the sensitivity of these environments didn't allow for it. This next step, once we went through the fire drill stuff, we then went up to the top deck, the sort of main operational center, where we ran through attack simulations where we'd have fighter jets coming at us and attacking us in simulation, and then I would be calling out the drills in front of us, the actions for all of us to be taking, and it was so funny, okay, because while it was serious and everyone was taking it seriously, one of the because there was some translation, of course, on the protocol, and there was no sound, so we weren't literally firing off rockets or being shot. So I had to scream, "Boom, boom, boom" down the mic, and it's on the tannoy, on the whole on the whole on the whole ship. And I'm wearing these headphones, and all my colleagues are wearing headphones, and I'm just creasing with laughter. And the wonderful chap who was doing it with me, taking me through the protocol, was creasing with laughter as well, because it was just like, what is going on here? This is just incredible and insane. And this man has no idea what he's doing. We then went up to the missile loading unit, and I couldn't film there again, of course, but we were learning how to load the missiles into the system. Actually, bloody heavy, these things, of course. They're not loaded, but they're dummy missiles, and the system is sort of quite satisfying in the way you throw them in and click them in, and this, the sheer volume of missiles is just incredible. From there, we had lunch with the team. So we actually went to the canteen on board, and we had lunch with them, which was great. Nothing fancy, but laid on. It was just as it should be, and absolutely straight and honest from an experience perspective. Got to meet them and had lunch with the guys and the girls, which was great. And then what else did we do? Where else did we go from that? We then went on a tour of the vessel. We toured one or two other vessels in the area, but ultimately it was just an incredible thing. It was just an incredible experience. There was nothing that was laid on that was sort of inauthentic or forced. It was just brilliant. And then we head back to the hotel after that first night, and then waiting for us on our hotel bed is this green uniform, which was the sort of aviator's uniform for our day with the pilots, the naval pilots, the helicopter pilots, the fast jets pilots, and the engineers. And this really was, for me, the highlight of the trip, because we saw these machines up close. I'd never in my life seen a helicopter so close. We drove again, same buses, about 2 hours out from where we were staying, and we were on the courtyard. We were in the courtyard for an Italian anthem ceremony, the raising of the flag, but singing the Italian anthem, because for me, I knew the Italian anthem roughly because I've watched them play rugby for so many years, and I love the Italian anthem. And so they sung that, and it was just another one of those moments, your pinch me moment. Beautiful morning, stunning sunrise, all in rank, and singing the Italian anthem. And I was just thinking, this is just, and fully dressed up and caps on, and there we go. The first thing we did there was tour the museum, the history of the naval aviation division within the Italian military. Incredibly rich history. We then went into the simulators. We went onto the helicopter simulators. We went onto the fighter jet simulators. Incredible experiences. The helicopter was particularly hard. Anyone who flies helicopters out there, I've got a huge respect for you, because everything is sort of backwards and you've got to get your head around that. The fighter jet was much, much more interesting, because we literally, with one of the instructors, got this jet taken off and up and landed. And you think to yourself, this is so complicated, this machine. Of course it is. But actually, with the right training and patience, you can be up, and you can be up in the air really quite quick. So that was just once in a lifetime. We then went into the wing itself. We were literally there where these helicopters are parked, and these on the tarmac. And we went through a process of doing some repairs to the helicopters. We looked at how the helicopters were repaired through the engineers. Amazing guys and girls. We then ran some rescue demonstration tests where injured servicemen might be coming in on a helicopter. How would we carry them off? How did we strap them in? How do we work together to get them off the helicopter when it came in? We did some night vision assessment in the rooms where with weapons, so you would understand how the night vision works and how it's set off, and the different challenges they face using night vision on missions. We then got to go into one of the jets. I went into the cockpit of one of the jets. We looked at servicing again on the jets. And by the way, the Italian military have jets that are absolutely the same jets that the US uses, and they are trained by the US. So they spend, I think, a year maybe, or 6 months, 6 to 8 months in the US training on these jets. Quite incredible. And then then we went on to then we went on to one of the fire engines, and we learnt how to use one of the giant fire hoses that they use at the airfield. The highlight was going on the helicopter out to sea and being dropped in the ocean and then retrieved. It was just incredible. I've been on helicopters before, once or twice, but there was just something about the idea of being lifted in this cage, what was it, 200 feet, 300 feet up into the air, and the skill of the pilots being able to hover in challenging conditions, very windy conditions. The winch actually did break on the very first mission out with some of the other owners, and I just thought to myself, this is brilliant, because they've come along for this experience. They wanted as much of it to be as real as possible. They're now sitting in the middle of the ocean there, bobbing, thinking, okay, we've got the watch on, the helicopter's gone, what's going on? And I just thought it was brilliant, but it did add some level of anxiety. But if there's one thing that the military are brilliant at, it's logistics and coming up with and delivering their plan B and C and D, of which they had that in their minds immediately. Changed helicopter, new winch, straight out there, and it was done. But for us, it was like there was 5 or 6 of us in total that were winched up, and it was just bonkers, like absolutely bonkers, completely drenched. We came straight up, pulled in, whipped out, in on board, and then we watched everyone else coming up, and then we choppered back for 15 minutes back to the base. But just all in all, just a remarkable experience, and I really feel like one that Panerai sort of cornered. And the real question is, does the experience come to bridge the gap for the cost of the watch in your mind as a buyer? There's a premium attached to the listing price. Does it meet the difference? Well, in the experience itself, I would say possibly. But what really convinced me was what happened afterwards, which was there was a huge barbecue on site at the barracks with the aviators, and the sheer joy and camaraderie that was that came to life very spontaneously. We had this barbecue, we had some local meats, we had dancing, we had drinks, and it went on till late in the night, where you've got these collectors from all around the world coming together, sharing stories, making memories, and you've got all these serving men and women who do admittedly have fun every so often, but not something like this. We've got such an inundation of new energy onto the barracks, and it just was bonkers. They were just going crazy, and we were so in the mix. And we, I felt, the only thing I felt was, and I spoke to a lot of the guys at the dinner about this, was they'd spent their lives working towards wearing that uniform, and I felt slightly uncomfortable with the idea of me wearing it, because I've done nothing to condone me wearing one. I mean, that's something you earn, not something you're given. But at the end of the day, what they said was, we were humbled that you came to us and that we had a chance to show you our skills, and that you took it seriously and respected what we were doing, and that the visibility of these units is something that hopefully will be amplified by our presence there, to the extent that the guy that was looking after me all day, one of the helicopter pilots, just the nicest guy, he was like, you know what, and the badges you'll see in the photos that you'll have seen already in the photos of what I was wearing, the badges, and one of the guys took off one of his badges and he gave it to me, and I just was genuinely touched, because he was like, no, you take that one home and remember us. And I was like, wow, like, you didn't need to do that. And it was just very, very touching. The whole energy of the night was fantastic. It was just buzzing, and we got onto that bus to head home, and I thought, wow, if there was any doubt about whether these experiences were special, that was the moment that sealed it for me. So I've got this bag, this carry case, this official military carry case, which I'm really fired up about. I'm going to take the badge, sew it on there, and it's going to get some great wear and some great use, as well as these. And so all in all, I am somewhat biased I wasn't paid to go on the trip, but I was paid for to go on the trip. Do I love Panerai? It was my first love in watchmaking. I had a 111, was my very first mechanical watch. Do I recognize the brand has gone through some ebbs and flows over the years? Absolutely. Has it made some mistakes? Absolutely. Has it fallen foul of the market conditions and the style going against it, where smaller case sizes, and I'm absolutely on board with having a variety of different sizes in the watch box, but has it been subject to the market tectonics moving against it? Of course. Do I think the future is bright for Panerai? Absolutely. Mainly because no one owns that Italian lifestyle thing, that Italian design thing. I think Bulgari are the closest to it, but actually no one really owns that sprezzatura, that Abbondanza, that Amalfi Coast, that Eileen, the sailing yacht that Panerai have. They've got different worlds to play in, and I don't think they need to necessarily be larger than life design-wise to appeal. And I just see, for lack of a better term, the tides are turning and coming back in the favour of Panerai because it's so unexpected. And so, like everything, there's this cycle of what's cool, what's not cool. And I think we're getting back to the point where Panerai's super cool. So that's it, guys. Straight down the barrel for you. I hope that was in some way interesting. Slightly different from the usual watch experience, and not one that was easy for me to explain to the dear wife when I got home. She normally thinks when I come back, she's like, "How's that jolly?" Well, on this occasion, I couldn't defend it. It was, and it was so enjoyable. So let me know your thoughts below. And yeah, thank you as always for tuning in. Until next time, go well.